Do you wear a helmet when you ride your push bike? Have you got a fence to keep people out of your swimming pool? There's lots of things where we as Australians sometimes are going, well, why is it that I can't do that? If you want to buy alcohol after 10 o'clock at night from a takeaway store, you're not able to do so. We spoke to the Minister about that last week. Do you think we live in a nanny state? Should there actually be different rules surrounding things like alcohol, marijuana, tobacco, films, computer games, bike helmets? There is a federal Senate inquiry which has just started into the personal choice and community impacts. It's instigated by our next guest, Liberal Democrat David Leyonhjelm. Good morning to you, and thanks so much for joining us. I trust you're well and out and about this Monday morning.
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
I hear you've been doing some exercise.
I'm out on my bike, yes.
Are you wearing a helmet?
No, not wearing a helmet. I've got a choice between being warm and being legal. I choose warm.
So, I know that you were one of these, you instigated this Senate inquiry. What are you hoping to achieve from it? Is it really something that comes down to trying to change us being a nanny state?
Yes, it's the culture that says, we know better than you, we know what's best for you, we're smart and you're not smart. There are people out there who are too silly to know what's best for them, and we have to tell them what to do. I want to change that culture. I want to basically poke fun at it, expose it, make people who think they know better than other people realise they really don't know any better at all. Nobody is better equipped to run someone else's life than that person themselves.
But as a government, shouldn't there be legislation to protect the majority, to reduce the cost that is associated with fixing up the mistakes that are made by those people if they can?
Now, I hear that argument quite a lot. It's basically socialise the health costs, and therefore if you do something unwise and incur health costs, everybody else pays. The problem is it's a very slippery slope. You could anticipate a situation where it would be illegal to eat chips, for example. You're allowed to have 1.5 drinks, but not 2, because if you have 2, you might injure yourself, and that'll incur cost. There really is no limit to how intrusive the state can be once you start saying, well, your health costs are my health costs, therefore I have a right to tell you how to live.
That is, but the majority of people end up paying for it, don't they?
They do, and I think we just have to resist that argument. We can say, well, look, we can socialise health costs, but one of the consequences of a socialist health system is that other people will make bad choices that will end in costs, and we'll all pay. So that's just one of the outcomes of having a socialised health system. Or we could do what Singapore does and have a compulsory health insurance, but funded via a savings system such as health savings accounts, where insurance companies could perhaps charge you a higher premium, say if you smoked or if you drank too much, and perhaps give you a discount if you wore a helmet on a bicycle. The other thing that you looked at was alcohol. I know that you've made comments that you're saying King's Cross, it's a naughty suburb, that you want to find out whether the lockout laws are actually working and whether the change to the sale of alcohol, particularly around that sort of area, has actually worked. Yes, we're actually probably going to have another first look at that this week. Until we hear the evidence, of course, I don't want to sound like I've made my mind up, but the information that we've received so far is that King's Cross has seen a reduction in violence. Alcohol-fueled violence has gone down fairly noticeably, but it appears Sydney hasn't, and I guess that's the question. It's been moved into other areas. Newtown and Pyrmont are the 2 suburbs that come up the most. But what has happened, and I don't think anyone intended it to happen, was businesses in King's Cross are going broke at a fast rate. And so it's causing harm to investors and also, of course, the people who work there. So if violence is not going down, and if people are paying the price by their businesses or their jobs, the question is, was that an appropriate policy? Was it legitimate to impose that lockout?
Well, we were speaking to the New South Wales Minister last week about alcohol sales, and particularly in relation to takeaway sales, which they're doing a review at the moment, and at this stage venues can't sell takeaway alcohol after 10 o'clock at night. He's suggesting in regional areas that there are people, particularly the Australian Hotel Association, lobbying to allow us to do that. But it seems strange that you don't have the choice to do these things.
Yeah, that's right. The objection I have to this is that everybody is presumed to be a drunken fool who can't be trusted, if you like, I suppose if that's the right word, to behave responsibly if they buy alcohol after 10 o'clock. So therefore nobody is allowed to buy alcohol after 10 o'clock. And there are a lot of rules and regulations that are imposed in a collective sense when it really is individuals who are responsible for making life difficult for other people. And it's a relatively small number of people as well. The saying goes, there's always someone who's going to spoil it for the rest of us. But it doesn't have to be spoiled for the rest of us. An appropriate government policy might be to identify, arrest or deter those individuals who do cause the harm. They're often repeat offenders. The police can identify them, and if they keep them under control and stop them from causing harm, the rest of us can get on with enjoying ourselves.
There are different laws in Victoria on the sale of alcohol. They have 24-hour bottle shops in Victoria, in parts of Victoria, but not in New South Wales. It seems that some states have, they're different places, different rules for different places.
Yes, you can also drink in the street, outside cafes and so forth in Victoria, and you can't do that in New South Wales. It's a very nanny state area, the whole alcohol thing. In many respects, it's historical. Australia was founded on alcohol in particular, and so there are some very long-lasting attitudes towards it. But we need to be a bit grown-up about it. It's individuals who misuse alcohol, who cause trouble for others, and if you control those individuals, the rest of us don't need controlling.
I know you've spoken about ICE yesterday. What were you saying yesterday?
Well, there was a motion in the Senate last Thursday that I opposed, and the motion essentially said ICE is a bad thing. Any attempt to legalise it or any discussion regarding legalisation of it should be condemned. And I protested and said, how could you possibly say legalisation had to be ruled out under all circumstances? I don't actually favour legalisation, but I think decriminalisation, such as Portugal has, should be contemplated. Portugal's actually decriminalised possession and use of all drugs, heroin, coke, and crack, and all the rest of it, including marijuana. Now, the only one that I think we can, with confidence, say should be fully legalised today is marijuana. We know enough about it to be able to say, well, it might hurt the smokers of it, but it's not going to hurt other people. And there are already 3 states in America now where it's fully legalised as well, so it's not as if it's a new thing. The other drugs I'm not so sure about full legalisation, but we can medicalise the problem. So we can say people who use those drugs, if they're addicted in particular, have got a medical problem, not a criminal problem. And having the police running around catching people with small quantities of drugs at parties and rages and so forth, or using them anywhere in private, they've got a medical problem if they're addicted. And what Portugal did was say, well, we're not going to chase you as a criminal. We'll divert you into therapy, whatever's appropriate, and get you off those drugs, and treat the dealers and the people making money out of it as the criminals.
Are you just doing this whole Senate investigation into personal choice and community impacts as the inquiry, I should say, as a publicity stunt for next election?
Well, I suppose every politician is always interested in their political future, but my party, the Liberal Democrats, is a Libertarian party. We believe in small government, personal choice, individual responsibility. So this is absolutely 100% consistent with my party's philosophy. We want to get the government off your back and out of your pocket and allow individuals to be responsible for their own lives. So this is very much part of our view of the world.
Can you just hang on a minute for me, Senator, if you wouldn't mind? We've just got some people who wanted to actually have a chat about this. 1300 973 300 is our number. Peter's in Kiama. Morning, Peter. No, I pushed the wrong button there. Let me just get you, Peter. Sorry. Peter, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Good. What do you want to say about this?
Mainly, nanny state arguments across the board. I think that you can't just sort of throw them all in one basket. The drugs might be a different argument compared to, wearing a bike helmet, which a bike helmet is obviously for safety. I've actually seen people with head injuries, children especially. You can't just go around saying we can do whatever we want to do, otherwise what stops me from driving 100 in the 60 zone? Like, there needs to be laws, there has to be laws. And some people don't like being told what to do, but that's a rebellious attitude. Quite incorrect, I think.
Okay, all right, appreciate that. What do you think about that, Senator?
He's confusing the situation of harm to others with harm to himself. My argument is, and the liberal argument, the smaller liberal argument is, if you're just going to hurt yourself, that's your business. It might be your family's business, but it's not the government's business to try and impose laws to prevent you doing it. If you're going to hurt other people, then that becomes the business of the government. So driving a car too fast, for example, your risk is not only to yourself but to other users of the road. So that's a legitimate area for the government to get involved. Riding a bicycle helmet, if you fall off, you're going to hurt yourself, but you're not going to hurt somebody else. So that's a different matter.
All right. I know that you've got deadlines for your terms of reference, your bicycle helmet laws reform, looking at the 5th of October.
We're fairly flexible about that. You do need to get your submissions in before the hearing dates, otherwise we can't consider them. But we don't get too hung up about closing dates. So if people are a few days late, it doesn't matter. Okay, so if they want to know more information, they can go to the Parliament of Australia website and find out more about the personal choice and community impacts. Appreciate your time this morning. Thank you. My pleasure.
Senator David Leyonhjelm on 97.3 ABC Illawarra. It is just coming up to 7:25. We'll check